Good morning. I'm Cornelia Johnson, and this is Dr. Lora Johnson. We're co-chairs of the college-wide Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and we're very proud of all the work that our conference committee has done to make today possible. Our conference goes from 9 to 3, and it's filled with lots of information from subject matter experts in the field of diversity and inclusion. Our keynote speaker, Iva Johnson Farrell, is the Chief Diversity Officer at Widener University. And we're very pleased to have a keynote speaker from a HEAT Award institution. The HEAT Award is the Higher Education Excellence in Diversity, which recognizes colleges and universities that demonstrated an outstanding commitment to diversity and inclusion. During lunch, you'll hear from a diversity panel with members from the community, representing industry, nonprofit, and health care sectors. This afternoon, we have 4 individuals who will give Delaware Tech talks from various perspectives.
And you will hear today that diversity and inclusion is an important focus in an organization's environment. Research shows that diversity and inclusion efforts in organizations lead to more innovation, more opportunities for all, better access to talent, and better organizational performance. And Delaware Tech strives for continual improvement in this area. And our college president is committed to a culture of diversity and inclusion. He believes that greater diversity leads to greater diversity of thought, the ability to attract and retain quality talent, and to a better understanding of our students' needs and success. It is now my pleasure to introduce our college president, Dr. Mark Brainard. Dr. Brainard's connection to Delaware Tech is genuine and meaningful. First of all, he is extremely proud to be a Delaware Tech graduate, and although he continued his education, earning a bachelor's degree from Wilmington University and a law degree from Widener School of Law, he would say that Delaware Tech provided the foundation for everything he has achieved. His achievements are many and diverse and include positions in public service and higher education. Many of you may know, before Dr. Brainard returned to Delaware Tech, he served as Chief of Staff for 6 years for Governor Ruth Ann Minner. In 2014, President Brainard was named the 5th president of Delaware Tech, and it is now my honor and privilege to introduce the president of Delaware Tech, Dr. Mark Brainard.
Let's hear it for the Sisters Johnson. We'll thank the sisters a little bit later and the entire committee, but first I want to welcome you to Delaware Tech's Terry campus and thank you for being here today. I'm going to thank you again at the end of my welcome, but thank you for being here today. Businessman Stephen Covey, who was the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, once said that strength lies in differences, not in similarities. And the poet Maya Angelou said, quote, "In diversity there is beauty, and there's also strength." And I think the reason why I like these 2 quotes around diversity is because they come from 2 people from vastly different backgrounds, and the key word in their quotes is strength. I think some of us sometimes embrace diversity because they think it's a way to support students or to make the environment better. But I think the bottom line is it makes us all stronger because we're recognizing others and what differences they bring, whether it's to a classroom or to a lab or to our workplace. As many of you know, this conference is the culmination of an entire week, Delaware Tech's Diversity Week, that began on Monday with different resource fairs at each of our campuses. All 4 of our locations did something around diversity starting on Monday. Tuesday highlighted TED Talks that focused on diversity and inclusion for our campus communities to enjoy and to learn from. On Wednesday, using the hashtag #NoPlaceForHate, we asked for our students, staff, and faculty to share words and photos that promote tolerance, kindness, and acceptance. Yesterday, finally, on Thursday, we celebrated the diversity and inclusion with an international photo contest. And obviously today, we're finishing the week strong with this conference on diversity and inclusion. As I look around the room, I see students. In fact, I talked to a few earlier, our friends from Wilmington and from all over the college. I see faculty, staff, and as important, if not more so, we've got community partners here from Christiana Care and other organizations who are serving as speakers throughout the day. So again, not only do we thank you, but we're recognizing that you share a vision to celebrate our differences and promote inclusion and understanding, which benefits all of us. I'd like to thank the college's Diversity and Inclusion Committee, chaired by Dr. Lora Johnson and Dr. Cornelia Johnson, and all the members of the committee. They're listed on your book, but I'd really like to have the members of the committee stand at this time because I want you all to know and see who's been working on this program. Come on, stand up. Make a lot of noise. Now, you're going to hear about the history of this committee, and it's always important to know and celebrate and honor our history. But I think it's also important to make sure everyone's aware about the work that this committee wants to do going forward. Lora and Cornelia really opened a welcoming environment around this committee. When they scheduled the meetings, they put the message out that all are welcome and people attend these meetings. And it's one of these open invitations that generates a lot of interest. And one of the things that they recommended earlier this year is that we use that renewed sense of energy and participation to expand the inclusion committee, the diversity and inclusion committee. And I think it's important that we recognize some of the accomplishments from this year. They collaborated with Student Affairs to host an Embrace Diversity campaign college-wide. Many of you remember that. They worked with the college-wide marketing department to create a logo and a brand so that it's an easy, recognizable program, or any of the workshops or functions that they have, people know that it's sponsored by that committee. They also did and organized presentations at college conferences, external conferences, and you see them very frequently at our campus updates as well. They led LGBTQ Train the Trainer sessions college-wide, and they also did a recent college-wide campus survey. And you'll also hear in a few minutes about follow-ups to that campus survey. So their work continues, and it's going to grow in the future. One of the things that they came to me and President's Council to do, and we're going to work aggressively to help them do this, is expand the committee. As I said, that additional publicity about the work that they do generated a lot of interest, and we're going to definitely appoint more members so that they can take on the additional workload and more projects going forward. They're going to provide training in the future on international cultural awareness. They're going to do additional opportunities for us to learn about hidden bias, closing the achievement gap, and how we can better support students with disabilities. And finally, one of the more important initiatives, I believe, is that we've asked the College-Wide Diversity and Inclusion Committee to collaborate with HR, to make sure that we can really start moving the needle on how we recruit and hire a more diverse workforce. And it's been a long-time priority for the college. We've been making strides, but not moving the needle the way we want to. So we're going to make it a priority for this committee. They're going to work with Dr. Beatty and the HR team college-wide, and we're going to have that as an initiative going forward. So again, we want to thank the college-wide diversion and diversity. That was pretty creative. I kind of like blended two words there. When I start getting irritated with you guys, I'm going to call you the diversion committee. The Inclusion and Diversity Committee. And for anyone in this room who wants to get involved, please let your campus director or someone from OOP know. We'll make sure that you get involved. So I'm going to wrap up today by saying thank you for being here. And I don't think I have to say this, but I think I will anyway. And that is, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. It's a bumper sticker from about 15 years ago, and I don't think I've ever been more outraged than I am today. This work around diversity is no longer a nice to do. It's no longer another way to support our students. It's no longer a way to try to add a better climate to the workplace. The work we do to become a more tolerant, accepting, respectful community is a must-do. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. It was just a couple of months ago when we were bombarded with images of people from our own country celebrating Nazism, white supremacy, the Klan. It's mind-boggling. Within the last few weeks, we've been bombarded with stories about how our sisters, daughters, mothers, friends, colleagues struggle to go to work every day in an environment of dignity and respect. It's 2017. It is mind-boggling. And within the last year, we've seen people with disabilities on the receiving end of ridicule and hostility. Mind-boggling. And I'll just say it again. If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. Now, I venture to guess that everybody in this room's outraged because you're here. But there's not enough people out there who are outraged. So I'm going to finish by saying it again. Thank you for being here. Because the work around diversity, inclusion, tolerance, acceptance, respect is just starting. And I hope we all leave here today remembering that and recommitting ourselves to creating a respectful environment in our classrooms, in our labs, on our campuses, and in our communities, because we need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brainard, for that powerful message, and we always appreciate, as always, his continued support with this Diversity and Inclusion Committee and all the initiatives we have going forward. So we are very excited to be here today for the first Diversity and Inclusion Conference at Delaware Tech. So I am going to invite up our assessment subcommittee from our Diversity and Inclusion Committee, because they are going to present Taking the Pulse of Delaware Tech. So I welcome up Mary Duty, Christine Frederick, and Dr. Joanne Damager.
Good morning. My name is Mary Duty, and for the next 28 days, I'm the Assistant Dean of Instruction at the Stanton campus. With me to present today are Joanne Damager, the Career Counselor at the Wilmington campus, as well as the College-wide Coordinator of Student Experiences, and Christine Frederick, a data analyst in the Office of the President. Today, Joanne, Christine, and I are here to talk to you about the climate survey that our subcommittee recently distributed to students at Delaware Tech. But to do that, we'd first like to give you a little background about how we got here. Some of that is going to dovetail with a lot of the information that Dr. Brainard gave, some background information. And then we will talk about how the survey was designed and distributed. And finally, we'll share what we have found in the very preliminary results. So let's talk about how we got here. The College-wide Diversity Committee was established in 2013 at the request of former Delaware Tech President Dr. Orlando J. George. Its charge was threefold. One, to address the 2013 College-wide Student Success Committee report recommendations. Two, to act on recommendations made by the Middle States Commission. And three, to consider actions stemming from the assessment of the college's Mission Goal 5, which explicitly addresses the college's commitment to diversity and inclusion. That new committee researched best practices, reviewed recommendations from that 2013 Student Success Committee report, consider both the results of a community college survey of student engagement, better known as CESI survey, given in 2011 and again in 2013, and the results of a locally designed climate survey that was distributed to our students in spring 2014. Based on all of that information, the original committee presented a report to the college's President's Council in May 2014. That report included 8 recommendations that focused on ways to promote a sense of belonging among students, faculty, staff, and administrators at the college. In order to address the recommendations of the 2014 report, the committee was expanded in 2015 and was renamed the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And as Dr. Brainard said earlier, it's going to be expanded again very soon so that we might have an even better representation of the Delaware Tech community. That new and enhanced committee will include representatives from a wide variety of areas and divisions across the college, including instruction, student affairs, workforce development, and institutional research. Not only full-time employees, but also part-time employees and students will serve on that committee. As you know, the co-chairs of our committee are Dr. Johnson and Cornelia, Dr. Lora Johnson, the Assistant Campus Director of the Stanton and Wilmington campuses, and Cornelia Johnson, the Dean of Student Affairs at those campuses. As the new co-chairs last fall, Lora and Cornelia thought that our large committee would be more effective and efficient if we were to organize into smaller subcommittees. One for events and promotions, one to plan and organize training, and one to address assessment, as Dr. Brainard told you. And so he also went into the biggest thing that the Events and Promotions Committee did. You're sitting in it right now, right? This is the culmination of a week-long event that highlighted diversity in many different ways. Dr. Brainard talked about the TED Talk Tuesday and the No Place for Hate Wednesday. And we're pleased to have you here at our first annual Diversity and Inclusion Conference. The training committee has been very busy too, with its most important accomplishment this year being the ally training that Dr. Brainard referred to, which provides participants with tools to create safe spaces and welcoming environments for LGBTQ students. And of course, Christine, Joanne, and I are here today representing the assessment subcommittee. Other members of the subcommittee include Mary Chen, the Assistant Director of Business Services at the Stanton. Where are you, Mary? There you are. She's the Assistant Director of Business Services at the Stanton and Wilmington campuses. Leslie Vincent. Did I see Leslie? There she is. She's a Developmental Studies instructor at the Georgetown campus. And Jose Widener-Horio, a counselor who also works at the Georgetown campus. Is Jose here? I haven't seen him yet. Okay. As the assessment committee, it was our charge to create a survey to take the pulse of current Delaware Tech students and to gauge how we're doing. So to give an overview of that work, Joanne will now talk about how we created and administered the survey. It was very recently distributed to a random sample of our students. And then Christine will share some of the preliminary results.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. And good morning, everyone. The Diversity and Inclusion Committee began discussing the need for a new climate survey in January 2017. The Subcommittee for Assessment used the 2014 survey that Mary just referred to as a good starting point. We reviewed that survey and made significant revisions and additions. The resulting draft was reviewed by the entire Diversity and Inclusion Committee and finalized in March. A plan was developed to administer the survey this fall, with focus groups to follow next spring. We believe that the fall semester would afford an opportunity to reach a broader sample of students. As mentioned, we plan to use the data from the survey to form relevant focus groups next spring, which will help to add to the data collection and further inform the climate study. Prior to our administering the survey, several committee members, who also teach, piloted it with several of their classes earlier this fall. We were really impressed. The students contributed a great deal, checking for clarity and response choices. Their feedback was invaluable in helping us to ensure that the survey respondents would understand both the questions and the answer choices. Another important partner in the final draft of the survey was the Office of Institutional Effectiveness and Development. Dr. Judy Seipel and Ms. Bonnie Sieben also reviewed the survey and determined that some questions are very relevant in the college's assessment of our 5th mission goal. That goal, as you know, states the college will provide an inclusive environment that promotes respect for diverse cultures, abilities, and points of view. So the survey was administered to a random sample based on campus enrollment to ensure that results are representative and can be generalized. It was open to students on October 30th and was administered online in Qualtrics via Delaware Tech email accounts. College leadership were notified of the survey so that they would be knowledgeable if students approached them with questions. Approximately 3,700 of our students received an invitation to complete the survey. Information about the survey was publicized in the student portal, and faculty received an email asking them to encourage students who had received the invitation to complete the survey. The survey will remain open through today. So that indicates to you just how preliminary the data that we're going to share with you are. The data today will be presented as of this past Monday, everything that we collected. To date, we have a response rate of just over 10%, and we actually feel that that's pretty good at this stage. So we're pleased that in at least these preliminary results, the demographics of the respondents closely match the demographics of the student body. Although we did ask more identifying questions, the major ones that we're going to highlight this morning are campus, gender, age, race, and ethnicity. Let's take a minute to look at those numbers. So this is by campus. As you can see on the screen, to date, the distribution of the number of respondents at each campus is about the same. We're very happy about that. Let's move on to gender. This gender distribution of respondents is actually very similar to the total college enrollment for fall 2017. As you can see on the screen now, the percent of respondents who are post-traditional age, that is 25 years of age and older, is 54%. So for those of you who may not be aware, the average age of our Delaware Tech students is 26. So we have had a great response from our post-traditional students. Moving to race and ethnicity, the race and ethnic distribution of respondents is similar also to the total enrollment for fall 2017. And now Christine is going to walk you through a preliminary look at the data so far.
Good morning. So now we're going to talk about what we know so far based on how students have responded. So we decided to kind of take out some questions and make this more interactive with everyone. So just kind of in terms of going through to let you know, in asking the questions, what we were really shooting for were like 90%. We're hoping we're doing very well in terms of diversity and inclusion with our students. So if you have a tablet or a smartphone, we'd like to just kind of get started. And we're going to do Kahoot. So what we would like for you to do is we pulled out a few questions, and we would like for you to predict what you think the student, how they responded. And I will let you know what they actually are saying so far. All right, so one of the things we wanted to gauge, the first one, students who feel that they belong at Delaware Tech. What do you think? What percentage of students do you think agree that they belong, who feel that they belong at Delaware Tech? So 24% of you felt that it was 72%, 22 thought it was 67. The actual number, a percentage, so far, 92%. Yeah, 92% of students so far feel that they belong at Delaware Tech. All right, the next one. Students who believe Delaware Tech provides a welcoming atmosphere that supports diversity. the percentage of students who believe Delaware Tech provides a welcoming atmosphere that supports diversity. Most of you said 80 to 89%, and you would be right. 85% so far. We want to get that number higher. We're hoping for higher, but 85% so far. So we're close. We're close at this point. All right, so 85%. And let's go to the next question. Now, we're really, students who are satisfied with the attitude of faculty toward students in class. Percentage of students who say they are satisfied with the attitude of faculty toward students in class. Many of you, 35%, you were at 70, 79. Oh, you think so low of yourself, faculty. The answer is 82. 82. 82 at that point, at this point, 82%. We still want to get that number higher. All right. So let's go to the next one. Students who are satisfied with the attitude of frontline staff towards students. So registrar's office, bookstore, financial aid. All right, most of you, 25, were 70, 79%, and you would be correct. The percent so far, 78%. We definitely want to get that higher, but you were correct, but you want to get that number higher. So you got the right answer, but we want to get that number, that percentage higher. The next question. Students who are satisfied with interactions with students from different cultural and racial and ethnic backgrounds. Students, the percent of students who are satisfied with interactions with students from different cultural, racial backgrounds. Most of you between 90 to 180 to 89. It's actually the low 80s, 83% of students who are satisfied. So low 80s, and we definitely want to do better with that. Okay? Next question. Students who are satisfied with the racial, ethnic diversity of faculty and staff. So most of you said 70, 79, and you would be right. For faculty, 74%, and for staff, 75%. So there is, so far, what we're seeing, there's a lot of work to do in that area so far. Okay? Now we wanted to kind of gauge a little bit. We asked questions about their diversity and inclusiveness in the classroom. So we asked the question, the next one is students who feel comfortable sharing their own perspectives and experiences in class. All right, most of you said 79%, and that's correct. 79% do feel comfortable sharing their own perspectives and experiences in class. All right. Still not even in the 80s, but we're close. The next question. Students who feel that the classroom atmosphere is accepting of who they are. 37% selected 81%, and that is right, 37 of you, 81% of students. Again, we would like for that to be higher, but 81% is okay for now. The next question, we're almost done. Students who have felt isolated when work was required in groups. That's one where we don't want 90%, just students who have felt isolated when work was required in groups. And 34 of you selected 32% is actually low. We want that to be low. 10% of students, even though that is still not a number we want, we would like for that to be 0, but 10% of students do feel isolated when work was required in groups. But 90% at least did not. But 10% still is something to focus on. And the last question that we took out, students, the next one, the percent of students who have never participated in racial, ethnic activities or discussions outside of class. And 20 said 35, actually higher. It's 54% of students who have not. So already, again, as pointed out, the survey closes together, but even so far now with the preliminary results, you can already see that there's some areas that we're doing well, and then there's some areas that we will work on in terms of improving. So we're going to do more work looking at the breakout, but so far the information we're getting, very helpful and very, very interesting. So we had qualitative in comments, so Joanne will tell you what they had to say.
Well, thank you, Christine. That was fun. Did you have fun? Yes, it was nice to hear your opinions. And you're very good estimators. You were right on the money on some of those. So we just heard some of the preliminary quantitative information, and now for a little qualitative data. The survey includes several sections where students can add comments. As I'm sure you know, students can be painfully honest when providing written feedback on evaluations and surveys. Bet some of you have experienced that before. In reviewing the comments, we saw several themes that stood out to us and that provided us with some great feedback, both good and some not so good. One of the things that we clearly need to work on is customer service. Many students were very, very blunt about how they feel that they've been treated, and they made recommendations that this is an area that we need to improve. Now, I know that this is very disappointing to all of us, but we have to pay attention to the data. Many students also said that they would like to see us include more events and that they would like to see us increase the ways that we advertise them. So we know we're working very hard at this and we're doing lots of things. They are enjoying this and they want to see more. One of the most common themes was the request that we create more opportunities for older students. And by older, we mean those experienced post-traditional students. In our past committee discussions, this group had not really been identified as one of our target groups, but we should obviously address this need, and we'll be talking about it. And thankfully, many students did comment that they notice and they appreciate the efforts that we are making for an inclusive environment. But of course, we know that we can do better. So we will, of course, take these and all other information from the survey into account as we move forward. So speaking of moving forward, so where do we go from here? Well, now that the survey is closing today, we will have the opportunity to look more closely at the data and to drill down to see more accurately where our strengths and our weaknesses lie. Based on what we find, we will create relevant focus groups that will meet in the spring to provide us with even more data. As we have said, the information we shared with you today is very preliminary, and we know that the final data will provide us with excellent information to help shape the future work of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, as well as the college. We look forward to that work, and as it will help us to further our mission to provide a diverse and inclusive environment for our students.